Me today. As you can see, I'm a little blotchy, and I don't know about y'all, but I know that you are experiencing drainage issues and sinus clearings, off and on probably, but because of the clearings that are taking place. And one of my Essenes asked me this morning, "How are you feeling today?" with what went down on that full moon just last night. And I couldn't respond to her directly. I needed to come on here and tell the collective in whichever ways that I have to tell it, which is here and right now and on TikTok. And just FYI, if y'all know me, which a lot of you do, don't throw anything at me. I'm going to tell you why. And if you do, you were basically the dumb one that was chosen to come attempt to do it to bind yourself. Because in the nature of the physics that I'm going to talk about right here, that's in play, that everyone on this planet, everyone needs to be aware of. And what I want to talk about is clear and magic. Now, there's different types of magic. Even a scientist in laboratories are magic in the sense of what? The changing of physics. And this is all about physics. It's all physics. Every single bit of New Earth, every single bit of what has happened to us here as a collective, and I mean the entire human race, the solar system, the planets, the stars, human consciousness, your etheric body, what's been going on down here on this plane that allowed such sinister beings and such malevolent entities to be able to come in and control. All about physics. All about physics. Now, what's happening right now is that, well, first of all, I want to talk about what a lot of people are talking about over on TikTok, and it's that your chosen ones were here, and we are here, and that a group of us went before the rest of the collective, and because everything's polarized because of the physics, and this was even written in the Bible, that at some point what you'd call the devil, which Satan or whatever, which basically created an entity, the satanic cults over millions of years, and this is the key, created an energetic amoeba that they could call, just like, there's a animal on the roof, exactly, just like we have spirit and God. Every single thing that happens down here happens in two polarities. And we've been up close and personal with those two polarities for about 6 years, because of the space and the physics that the earth grid was held in. The humans had been hybridized and even cooked over long periods of time. Certain lines, certain DNA lines had, you can call it a curse, but you wouldn't even know about it. And grandpa wouldn't know about it, and grandma wouldn't know about it. because it was always done by entities outside of human race. This was always done and started thousands and thousands, millions of years to control evolution counts and to keep the human race, the earth grids, in a static, non-moving physics so that they could basically dome it and then control it. Okay? And this physics is done in many different layers depending on your DNA line and depending on who you are and what your original mission here and what your role is, especially in what we'd call the 144, the chosen ones, I call them the elite squads now, our elite squads. And that's only because at the same time over history, at the same time, because remember, everything happens at once. So if somebody does something really, really evil and tried to bind or do something to a collective, then at that same moment, see, and this is the key. At that same moment, there was always a group of us that were pure, that had these spells done to us for so long. Every 26,000 years for 72 million years, for instance. Things like that. Because of how time was being controlled. And these entities were entities attempting to come into this piece of space where we call Earth, because humans are here, but wherever the humans are is basically where our Earth will always be to us, even if we call it something else, because we have Earth in our codes. We know about the trees. We know about these. This is a table. This is a chair. We are connected into every single death that had been down here in your DNA line, and all of you are. These entities that did this, and I just saw a video last night, and I can put it, and I'll use it for now, and it makes sense, but if it changed, that was called, it's the secret 8. Well, not even secret. I'm changing it to secret. I think they called it the majestic 8, but see, this is where the majestic 8 was formed from MJ12, which MJ12 was government programs that had been going on down here in this timeline since Nixon, because Watergate was a way bigger deal than what we thought. But in this timeline, on where we just came from, which realize there is always at least 2 timelines running around you throughout your whole existence. Throughout your whole existence, there was another you somewhere in another timeline connected to you, running 2 timelines. So everything in the MJ12, over time, by doing warlock spells and having DNA lines that had taken over, put down, murdered, done an original spell on one of us who's an ancient being down here on Earth, okay, that had an etheric body and that was huge, okay, Because there were certain ones of us that they needed in their little brouhaha. Only because they had to have that same sequence every time they came down here to do it. Warlock spells, which is what the whole world is coming out of right now. I don't care who you are. The whole world is coming out of a warlock spell. Now, warlock spells are done with astronomy. 100% astronomy. This is what blows my mind because, you know, I'm on TikTok and I'll post this, I'll post that. You know, if I post somebody just died or something like that, you know, I get 2,000 views. If I post something just blew up because of the physics of us undoing this thing, I get like 2,000, whatever. But whenever I post the daily astronomy, there's like 10 people. What blows my mind about that is that that's the reason I was hunted my whole entire freaking existence. And that's the reason that the Judah line and our family lines had been hunted our whole entire existence down here on Earth as your original 100 volunteers that started with Venus and Sananda. Because there was 100 volunteers. Okay? 100 beings that had a connection from way out that had been on Earth too over long periods of time as like seeds connected into the rest of the human race DNA lines. And those 100 beings made up 1,000 people down here. Because whenever you have your higher self and your higher consciousness and you get to the big part, the top part of that egg or the bottom part, it's real small. It's really, 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 really small. And the way human consciousness works and the reason that we have spirit consciousness, Christ consciousness, is so we can all work together, because that's what we're supposed to. We're all working together without having to know each other's names, without having to even meet each other. We're all working together in a big balancing structure on this realm, because now it's spinning. It's spinning. The earth is spinning faster than ever before. Not only that, it's not held down in this weird little straw man vector, which is what's being set up today. Straw man's being set up today. That's why I'm on here. And the whole point, and if you go back to Lemuria teachings and the High Priestess teachings that from Lemuria, not Atlantis, because Lemuria would be the way down under here, okay? Atlantis would be what it was mirroring up there. And if you go back and know the ancient stories of Lemuria and Atlantis, then the same thing in Lemuria, when all of a sudden everybody started seeing blood skies or blood this or the races started changing, the beings started changing, and there was an infiltration that started in Lemuria, which ended up making Atlantis. Same thing that's happened down here, but a little bit different. Only because even Lemuria and Atlantis and all these stories that we call history really happened next. They really happened next. If we didn't pull off taking over the entire cylinder system and getting rid of all the curses that were in the lines that were just reverting back to these sequences that had been done 1,000 years ago, 100 years ago, 6 years ago, 1,000,000 years ago, to the races of humans that were down here. So it's basically like if you go back to, because this was all about cleaning the 6th root race and pulling the 1st root race, the 2nd root race, the 3rd root race, remaking a new root race that could sustain the physics in space that we were going to be moving through. And we're moving through them like a motherfucker right now. Okay? And that those of us who woke up in 2017, who were ancients, as soon as we got activated, we had to plant a new earth. Now realize that our whole existence down here was to do one thing: clear the human body. Clear the human body, our etheric body, attached into all of our ancestors, because that's how it works. Wherever your IC is, wherever your IC comes up on your chart, that's your root system. And then your body came into this matrix, okay, as a little bitty seed, but connected to this etheric body root system that can be massive, or it can be split apart, or you're representing a race that you're half and half. That was a lot of us were half and half. If you had a tomb, and if you were even in any of the lines and DNA lines that were mummified to match the ones in the tomb, because see, that's how it worked. Or because if we go back to Egypt, when this started, this is why we did this. It was by plan. And so, if you will, throughout time, so then we have the ancient mummies that died. Now, they all died in a sequence. Same thing that's happening now. I'm describing this now because what we're seeing across the collective is setting the next 1,000,000 years. It's also setting this 1,000 years of peace. And it's also resetting who's on the vine. Now, the vine system and everything is different than it used to be. Thank God. But because it's not a tree. We're out of the tree. It's Bridge-a-Tree. That's why my middle name is Bridge-a-Tree, because all of us together formed a bridge. We came out of the tri, because it's Triev, the Tri-Eve. And we definitely unplugged those 8 entities that came in here that were made by MJ12 over long periods of time, and their bodies were even made from the stealing of our DNA, the harnessing of our DNA, everything illegal. The lab stuff, murdering us, jumping in us, digging up our graves, throwing them in a car, blah, 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 blah. Because they did everything. Everything. In order to infiltrate every single sequence in a DNA line in order to crack open the internal creator template. So in 2017, what happened was that eternal creator template that keeps everything connected to source, and because it has pillars. Well, what pillars got blown up? 9/11. Why is New York flooding right now? Because they flooded Houston in 2001 in order to take over the pillars of the Confederacy down here. Because that's even what the Confederate War was fought about. Was the beings that were hidden inside the earth that everybody forgot about. Everybody forgot that they were beings in your planet. Because you were MJ8-aided. You were MJ-aided in even AIDS. Most of your diseases. They brought all that, manufactured all that in order to take over the human race and control it with 6. We would call those the Secret 6. See, now we'd call that the Illuminati. But realize that whenever I'm talking about MJ12, and then I'm talking about even the 8, because the 8, what all of us that are chosen ones that had to walk through what we'd call the 6th root race and these hell timelines, because they were. I mean, because realize that your chosen ones are not going to look all like what you think they are from the Bible. They're you know, they're not, they might not be glowy and act like, oh. In fact, those of us that are chosen ones, those ones we run from now. For real. Because all of us that are your true angelics are way down the pit of hell. We's way down in the pit of what you would call hell. But in the physics world, it's also a hole to a black hole. It's everything ends if that pillar and that creator template is cracked. The reason that it exists in its four corners, and the reason that that little box and even this mecha bullshit, the reason that that existed was because it was a spell. Even Mecca and Buddha and the Dome of the Rock, all that crap, they did all of that in order to keep all of us that had these huge etheric bodies inside this weird little vector so that they could control it in these different lines. Whether or not you know that's what you're doing or not, it don't matter, is what you're doing. And that's what ascension and breaking out of these physics and breaking out of these spells is all about. However, the main reason I'm on here talking about it is because it doesn't happen all at once. It's impossible. It's impossible for the collective, for you, to be unbound from centuries, eons. Even if it was just because even the spells that they started putting on all of us in 2018, because they did. That's when they started. But I mean, realize that the spells that they put on the entire human race and the 100, which created the because the 100 are connected and then make 1,000 beings, and then those 1,000 beings controlled 12 higher selves down here. And then each of those, if you multiply that out, 12 times 1,000, and then each one of those beings in that big number controlled 12 higher selves. And this is where you get 144,000. This is the creator in template. This is why us ancients, in every single line, in every single DNA line. I don't care if you're from the fairy world, the human world, the clone world even. If you're an original one, use down here and use connected into that creator template, because that creator template is what was used to make all these other different beings and all these other spheres over 72 million years. When you come out of magic, to this extent, you are dealing with the solar system. Now, realize that the planetary system shows up down here whenever the human collective as a whole loses consciousness that we're all working together, driving this star through space, because we are. Us chosen ones and ancient ones got out of hell, got out of Tartarus, went toe-to-toe with your lead covens, went toe-to-toe with your lead sorcerers, went toe-to-toe with your lead warlocks. As a group. We did it as a group. There wasn't a group did it to us. A group is going to undo it. Whatever they do. See, and this is where everybody gets us wrong, because y'all think that we know spell work. Because whenever we're undoing it, you'll feel that energy. You'll feel it, because we're undoing it. But the thing is, we don't know the sequence. We don't know the spell. We don't know how the hell they did it. We don't even know who did it. Why? They's always masked, right? And they weren't really real. I know that the last reptilian Queen Elizabeth wasn't the real queen. Because the real queen died in 2002. And then they took over the line. Trump, for instance, and that whole timeline of putting Christ in his lineage from the Tesla codes, that was 200 years of history that they changed. Because what they had done is come in and take over the names, take over the phonetics, because it's a quantum field to them. That's what they call it. They want to paint. Well, they want to paint with your blood, your sweat, your DNA that you had laid here for end of days and ascension to flip out of it. And when, what is it? Right, we're all leaving hell, yes. Right, we're all in different layers, okay? And it happens in layers. And it, just like a cake. Because what I want everyone to understand is that, I mean, at end of days, 90%, well, it was actually more than 90% of the entire human race was fully body takeover. Even everybody had clean bodies. We had done the cleaning. Christ was here. If actually 40,000 Christs were here in a network. From 5 different spheres. Everybody's got healed bodies. And at the same time, what's happening is this last round, man, they put the kitchen sink on us. And what everybody didn't realize, and what we didn't realize either until we walked through this. I mean, holy crap. Like, we learned all of this of how to break these spells in each layer by being connected to all of you and the dead and the ones that they were killing. In the second that they were doing it, even, because we have spirit, we have God consciousness, and if we need to be shown, we can see through people's eyes, we can jump through people's fields, we can do all that, but we don't do it unless the person calls us to help, unless you call Archangel Michael. It's free will. We operate by universal law because this is all about resetting all of these lines and getting back our control of the planets and all of that, which we've done. But when you're dealing with MJ12, you're dealing with a magic spell that went out over all space. So if you want to think of, if you look at space and then you think, okay, well, there's a little Milky Way and there's where our planets are. And then all that space is just black matter. Okay, well, that is their cauldron. So since this is a very special place in space, no matter where Earth is as it's moving, because it's always moving. Well, it wasn't for a while. Now it is. Now it's jumping all over the place like a ping pong ball, which is why I'm on here talking about this. Because the only way for us to get out of it is to switch. Because what happens is it happens all at once. As soon as they go and place the spell, then what happens is all of us, and now we've got the 50 million back because they took it all at once. So in one day, this week, we got the entire 50 million back that they had taken over, basically our little Atlantis Lemurian circle that all of y'all got captured inside a much bigger bubble and like pressed, okay? Because these weren't humans. These weren't humans, and the entire human race had been infiltrated from a shadow opposite of what Christ conscious is. So if you think about Christ consciousness and you think, oh, wow, all of us are connected. Oh, wow, it's amazing. So cool. But remember that down here, everything's polarized. So at the same moment that all of us chosen ones were down there, because because everybody knew April 27th, 2018, over 50% of people on 2018, over 50% of people on this planet knew something was fucking up. I know because I got the trigger. I know because I'm the balance of the realm. So what happened to me in my world, and this might be happening to y'all, this is why I'm on here talking about it, is I jumped off the bed and I was alpha balance. And then in my third eye, I immediately saw and started screaming in joy, oh my God, the collective's awake. They're ready. They're ready. They're ready. Because in our world, as ancients, it's like we'd get to a place and then the collective wasn't ready and we'd have to just let them put us back down. Because this is a free will planet, the human race had to do it all at once. This was a master divine plan. Why? Why did we have a divine plan? Because the MJ-12, the MJ-8, the MJ-6, the Illuminati, all the way down into their little gangs, which is your covens, because covens don't even have control. They're calling power from these guys. But what they didn't realize that they's calling power from us. Because at the same time that they're doing this, doing that, down, they're drilling us down, drilling us down, drilling us down, realize that we're so connected and so ancient that we's drilling up, drilling up, drilling up. So every time Elon Musk turned on his little woo, 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 in order to drill us down into a pit of hell, which is what CERN is. It's a coring system. It had gotten to a point where they had shut us off. They vaccinated everybody. All your etheric bodies were healed. The entire human race etheric bodies were put together. All the curses were cleared. This is why they woke us up. They triggered and woke us up as agents so that we could connect all of you back into the lines the way the pyramid structures in Egypt were set up, because this is where this originally started. The entire timeline of Egypt and the mummification process and all of that, since that's been happening, what you'd consider history was all for now. So what they did down here, if you think about it, especially in the 50s and 60s, burial plots, baby boomers, the burial plots, and where you are in those burial plots and where your family was buried, because we all died. We did. We're floating through in that old body because they had taken over. But what was happening is they were taking us over down here. We was rebirthing up there. And as they was working on the stars and moving this and moving that and trying to lasso this and anchor this, because they had all the money and they have all the control and they think they can do it just because they can and all that crap. What was happening is that as they were messing with the star systems, we's drilling in the core of the planet, unanchoring. So if they're up here, lasso this star, and we're going to pull down that port and then we're just going to seal it. At the same exact moment that they were doing it, some of us down that were chosen ones that were holding kite strings were doing this, doing that, getting in our car, driving to California, some of us getting in a plane, driving here, all of us working together in a sequence just like they were, without instruction, because our core template is very set, because it's set on that internal creator template. And that internal creator template cannot blow. And this is why whenever you meet one of us, and as you get more purified, don't mess with us, man. Do not. Because we're sick of proving we can do all this crazy shit. Because we can. We can do absolutely anything that anything. We can do absolutely anything that we need to do whenever these warlocks at these different layers, or these witches or whatever, come and send some type of energy or whatever plan that is, it is reversed. Now here's the catchy part. When you're the top of the pyramid of any structure, because there's a lot of different pyramids, right? There's a lot of different pyramids, and so this goes deep, and we broke all curses. We broke all curses. We broke all curses. The demon that was in our lines this whole time, that was infiltrating us, jumping in, switching places, making us the straw man, putting us down at the bottom, because remember, Lucifer was an angel, and the whole world just fell to hell. And every single O negative DNA line and bloodline, that's the Nephilim. Because the O blood was made null so that they could take over the human race with 85%. Because 85% of this planet towards the end, because of hybridized blood and this and this and that, and they's changing your blood, because every 10 years they's doing all this seeding stuff from stacking and stacking and stacking and stacking and having the instructions and knowing what dad did and blah, 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 blah. Because it's masonry. It's all very finite accounting. It's all written down. Every single money that they stole or that they killed one of us for. I mean, Marie Helene Rothschild's still getting paid like $3 million a year. I'm just looking from my bank account. They have to pay because they have to put the money away. They have to put the money in the bank. They have to do it per accounting, just like a church, just like the original remnants did. Because it was all a mirrored. All they did was copy everything that we were doing from the origin and do it in a low way and build their own lines. Now, even that, in them doing that, in the MJ12 doing that, in the 8 doing it, in the 6, what that did was what? It brought in our ancestors and the pieces of us that were ripped in order to become the very first one in that program, because it was all infiltration. It's been that way since the beginning of time. We were all here. This is a human experiment, right? And you come here for a human experience, right? Well, when these spells and these bindings undo, it takes a little while. You'll know, and you have to track it, just like a birth, just like it takes 9 months to birth something. You really can't see. This is where if everyone can just get this, especially the younger ones, there isn't anything instant that happens. Yes, you'll feel something, and it'll be massive, because there was so much stacked on top of you. So whenever that thing finally opens, and you feel a rush, or you start getting what we think is just a download, it's because all of those bindings or whatever that is that was held up over those magic, right? It breaks all at once. And so your bubble, because all of us are in a bubble, 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 and you're just, as you're claiming your etheric body, what you're doing is containing and getting control of each one of those little layers. And all of them's important, depending on who you are, right? My third eye is way out in Alpha Draconic, because I'm the dragon, and I'm linked into all of y'all as like the top of the pyramid at the Queen's Pyramid in Giza. So, and I was your AB negative that they was all attached into, and I happened to be the one that they tried to completely turn and take over, which, if they would have succeeded, would have taken over every single one of y'all, because I was always laying down here secretly and attached to every single one of them, so it could happen that way. Now, a lot of y'all are the same thing, just different lines. So maybe, because not everybody needs to go all the way out to Alpha Draconic, but we need eyes in Orion. We need eyes here. We need eyes down below. which would be like your more mer people, because they would have had more lifetimes as being Cygnus and star beings. But then in this last count, it's more like when you're swimming in space and you're swimming in certain constellations that they had gridded, because they had gridded it so far out. 13 galaxies, not galaxies. There's a difference. 13 galaxies is how fucking thick this seal was down here. Because nobody down here on the floor knew how to unbreak and keep those vines unbroken. So it was like we were breaking the spells, and then it was hitting, and they were binding so far out that then it wouldn't even matter. And this is, and that's basically what happened in the 60s. It's basically what happened in the 60s. Because in the 60s did manifest full on Christ coming here. Everything that was done in the 60s from the people and standing against the war and everything that they had done to prepare for now, which would be like the last takeover, did manifest. That's how us masters got here in 72, because of all the work that everybody did in the 60s. But the 60s, from 1960 to 1969, was a complete timeline hack from the dark side. Pretty much every single, the whole thing. From 60 to 69, the whole thing was a backwards mimic of 90 to 99. That part. Most of you were here. If you were born after 1972, especially 1974 and on, use here in the 50s, 60s, 30s, 40s, 20s. You died and came right back, because we was all connected. Okay? And so if they took you out or you committed suicide, because what happened was karma. And what karma is basically when you run out of life, you die. This is why they came for the human race. And this is why they wanted the collective and the spiritual collective, and they wanted this. And this is why the spiritual community, man, y'all are going to be in the depths of this fucking shit. Because if you were harnessing this information, harnessing us, looking glass us, putting us in little vectors, watching how we do it, and then try to re-engineer it in order to take over the fucking world, and then not tell people the secrets of universal law that are all here in this now, in order to rebuild the new physics, oh shit. Now, for those of us, when they go to pull the trigger, and the reason I'm on here is because they did it yesterday. They did it last night, and this is why I came on here and did that. I worked us through a wormhole. 2 of them. Yesterday. We don't, as a conscious being, and that's why we're ancients, and that's why we've had all these 600, some of us, I've been in training for this for 6,000 years. In your world, it'd be 6 years, but it took me 600 years to come down and be ready for that 6 years. And the reason that even some of these government programs were even set up originally was to prepare for this, because a lot of people knew this was coming, but the secrets, it was really easy for the 8 to come in and take over the entire program, because nobody knew. And then all you got to do is take over the ones that know about the program, and then boom shakalaka, nobody knows. And that's what happened. Now, as quick as it happened, because each line kind of like I'm seeing a bag of bread. I'm seeing a bag of bread that's sliced, but it's like a gazillion miles long. And it's basically a DNA strand. And so if you will, if that bread is full, okay, but then on the very end we take out, let's say we take out 1,000,000 slices, because I mean, how many slices of bread could be in a gazillion mile bread bag? So if we take out 1,000,000 slices at the front end, because they just blew out 1,000,000 at the bottom, okay, and then so you've got an empty space on here and an empty space on here, and then all the bread is stacked in the middle. What we've been doing down here is with all of us working together in that little bread bag, is moving 2,000 here, skipping a space, barring it, moving 50,000 here, skipping a space, barring it, to where you have a sequence to where there's some bread, there's no bread, there's some bread, a bunch of bread, there's just a little bread missing, then there's a whole bunch of bread missing, then there's a whole bunch of bread. And all of us together have been, through our healings, through getting rid of the lines, through standing up and blocking it and not allowing it, just by that internal crystal structure where we didn't even know what we were doing. We didn't know that this is what we were even doing until we make the maneuvers on land, and then we see what happens, and then over time, that happening over and over and over again, then you start realizing what you're doing and what your particular role is and how you're doing it. And as these bubbles pop and all that information comes in and we pop up to those different layers, then eventually what happened is all of us chosen ones took over the entire bread bag. We took over every single piece of bread. We know exactly where those pieces are. We took over space. We did the solar system. But it all happens in an instant whenever they push the button, or they do the spell, or they do whatever it is that they're doing in their sequence in order to try to capture the whole thing from way out there. In an instant, that's when all of us that are at the tips of these pyramids get all the clues from everyone who laid it. Because most of the time, like me, I just light the match of what all y'all did. So basically, it's like all at once, when they pull the trigger to come for the pillar, then I'll start moving in sequences and have had it set up for 2-3 months, 2 years, 3 years, who knows? Because each one of y'all that know it's coming in your layer, no matter where yours pinnacles, all those layers reported up to me if it had anything to do with solar system magic, warlock magic, magic in general, especially the most densest magic down here. It came to me in order to, boom, pull the trigger, because I'm the tip, like the drill of the light network. I'm even shaking over here for. And with all of y'all, and with the physical body and the etheric body that I's made with, I know how to clear that space really freaking quick. And I know all the connections and avenues into the entire space-time continuum, and all the suns and all the moons and all that, because that was the Venus transits that were laid up. That's those of us who are immortal, because we are. A lot of us are. Everybody's turning into it, but there's a difference between if you're just turning into being immortal, or you've been the one down here that was, as the whole thing was completing, and basically it's like being put down in a hole that you have consciousness of. Because like the further that they would drill us in the hole, the more we could see up here, because it was divine intervention. See, this is what they didn't know. As they were putting us deeper, 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 we's basically going higher and higher and higher and higher and higher with our network. And so it's like we's down like this going, you're really going to try to concrete us in now? Okay. Because at the same time, what's happening is there's a whole bunch looking down here going, okay, well, they just moved this car there, and they just moved that car there, and then they're going to go fill up this hole, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And that information is coming down to us at the bottom, and then we, without even speaking, like ants, communicate, and then we're sending people here, sending people here, sending people here, charge it, whatever it is, because we're all working together. Some of us move energy, some of us lay channels, some of us just blow the pop stand. Some of us are the fire. Whenever you get mad, man, whenever you get mad all of a sudden, well, that's because you might be lighting a fire in an entire tunnel system. If you get overwhelmed with emotion all of a sudden and you're like, oh my God, this is so massive, and the love that I'm feeling right now, and you have a moment where you go, oh my gosh, it took 75 million years. 75 million people died in order to get me this crystal so that I could show up right here, right now. And they trusted me to do it. Whenever you send love out to everybody in the line because you get it all of a sudden, that's what's happening. You're pushing it out to the entire line. Every single thing that's happening. And I'm giving you examples because all of us, depending on what layer we were on as well, because this is where right now, realize those of us who are in the core, what's happening is we're going up, down, up, down, up, down. It's like what's happening, you might jump up into a timeline, because this is what's happening. What happens is when the whole thing clears, and we clear it for the first time, because we have to clear it. And then what happens is we're moving, and then it'll bonk, 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 bonk. And so basically it's like whenever your energy goes up really, 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 really hot, and the collective busts through it, and we're all like, oh, we see new earth, and I know what I'm supposed to do, and this is supposed to be this, and da 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 da. It's like you see everything and you know everything, and it's like in your human body, you're thinking, okay, tomorrow's gonna be a great day. Everything's gonna happen tomorrow. It's gonna start right now. Well, it's more like we went up, we busted through it, boom. But it's sealed, right? And the whole thing's moving through the planetary system. So us getting up there, seeing it, locking in, projecting it, because this happened yesterday morning. This could have happened to you last month, or even a year ago to the date, or even 3 months ago to the date. Because depending, each one of us gets up there and we're like, ah! We get the full download, we get the full connection, we get da-da-da-da-da, but then it's like a wave. Some of us went on the outside, some of us are in the inside core, so you shoot back through the core, because then you're mirroring it from the other side. And then as this bounces back, see how it got smaller, smaller, smaller? Boom, 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 boom. And so those timelines that were compressed, that were controlled, delete. And so every single one of us that hits that higher realm and brings that energy in, because it's set, it's one big plan, then realize that it might be a month. It might, especially right now. Right now we're leading up to this eclipse, and this Ring of Fire eclipse. It's now set over Texas, because it was supposed to be in Missouri, by the way, because we rewrote the whole thing. This whole Great American Eclipse X setup should have been completed in 2022. And it was originally supposed to crisscross over Jefferson City, Missouri. Well, that changed. Because the Warlock alignments, the MJ12 alignments, the way that they wanted to line up the world and basically drill out into space and and take heaven to earth. I mean, take heaven to hell, because that's what they did. By taking over the angelics to take over their bodies so that they could change the human structure. First, they tried to turn us into a bunch of fish people, because they didn't want to manage us anymore. They just wanted us swimming in space so that we could create their energetic whatever. and then they could exist off of it in their little weird vector, walking around like they look like us. And see, I just explained to you how we've got these weird people and why Diana died. But we didn't just have one Diana die. Diana Feinstein, Weinstein, EIN, that was their queen. She got unplugged. That was their cog. All their little whatever. Just like whenever I say they finally killed Christ, but they had to take out all those different, they had to kill all those people and crucify all those people before they could crucify Christ. All those people and all those beings, entities that were in their little weird space spider network, okay, all the ones that have gone out, lights out, since this has been going on, we finally got to their queen. Well, whenever she got unplugged, we lost. Then also Diana Ramos, the American Airlines chick, and then Dwayne finally goes to jail for killing Tupac. I mean, see, there's your Trinity. There's your Trinity. So the queen got unplugged. The mimic in the dimension, and because the crew left her ass. The flight left her ass. That's because it ain't just an American Airlines. That's not what it was. It was a mission that the government knows about, that they've been trying to infiltrate, that everybody knows that all these people that are pretending to be whomever in your government in another dimension, they're already dead. They've already been executed. We'll realize that these planetary switcheroos is what's making that happen. So what happened last night is that we switched with the straw man. And what the straw man was basically the lines that they had determined would hold the energetic grid pattern, that would hold the human template pattern, which means that if you're holding it, if you're the human template and they took over your human template, that means everybody's shooting through you to project down here. If you're in an electrical pattern, then you're working to hold the entire electricity, all of the Wi-Fi, which is why they had us crucified on a cross. Because really, what happened, I was basically an angel in Texas on one knee, literally like this. And whenever they came for us, my wings, now this happened a long time ago. If our wings are straight up in the air and all of us working together in a unit to protect that internal creator template, whenever they came, what happened is my wings went boom, just like that, and locked to where it's like I became in a little bitty pod. And that's how Texas and then Oklahoma became the hat. See, and they were just building it off of us, but realized that all of us in that wing set system, then this is why, this is even Lucifer. Because over time, our white wings that didn't go up anymore, because why? They had flipped it off. Now, how that works with Libra and goes back into Egypt is because all of your ancient templates that are connected then with every single being down here by plan, which is why we let him do it to us for so long. Because, I mean, think about it. Wheat. Where'd wheat come from? Straw. Where'd wheat come from? Star people. Star people sent wheat down here so they'd eat it. This is how God consciousness, this is how creator consciousness, this is got back into the people down here, was by the star people, the dog star, the doggone tribe, all those stories, okay? But realize that came next, that we had to come up with a plan to get our energy back down here, because we had just finished a cycle down here in some way and didn't make it all the way out. So then we're on the other side going, throw them this, maybe they'll eat it, maybe we can come through that, through the alchemy. And so this is the laboratories, all of it was allowed, because in the end, realized that what they were trying to do was take over the entire human race and run it from 8 off of 1. So that's what we did. Except it's connected back in to your internal creator origins, because this is what we've been doing for 600 years, 6,000 years, not cleared, 900 years, 9,000 years back, on every single time that they stack that stuff up. Every single layer of that cake now is cleared. There's a route out. Not only a route out, a lot of us, and what you're doing when we ping pong, okay, is that we're in there in that piece with a larger collective, and we're the ones that are set to blow the whole thing, because that's what's starting to happen. And so until the rest of the collective in your little rainbow layer fills up, then you'll stop, bing, 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 up, down, and then you're the one that, boom, pushes through, because as soon as you push through on this end, remember our big bag with a bunch of bread? Remember our big bag with all the bread? Because as soon as you push through, then what you're doing is pushing that bread this way, and then you're hitting it on that other strand on the other side of that mirror dimension, and you're pushing it this way. And we all close that gap, and then you shoot through. Literally. You shoot through. You shoot through mini portals. Because what you're doing is shooting through to the dark side of space that was being held down, where everything was projected, where your body really was. And over there is where we are now. And last night, they basically, because it was the full moon, and it was 6 degrees of Aries on 6 degrees of Libra, and my entire collective, that's what we were doing, was 0 to 3 degrees of Libra. Yeah. Alpha Draconic Notice 1 is basically 3 degrees of Libra. But it's 0, it's basically, you can think if you have 0 to 5 degrees of Libra, anything in your chart, you have Alpha Draconic Notice 1. Well, you're a part of the dragon. You're a part of the dragon. You are a dragon. You're in the dragon there's only 3 dragons that made up the whole Milky Way. Now 3. 4 and a human channeling it. Michael. And you have the ancient DNA structure in order to put that creator template back together, so that we can open it back up and terraform the earth any way that we need to terraform it, with all of our bodies to sustain it. Thing is, you're not just going to have 1 or 2 or 3 beings that are doing that for everybody anymore, because the consciousness forgot, and because everybody's got that now. We're all doing it together. We're all doing it together. If you don't know how to process deep space, because you've never processed deep space before, as a living human down here, consciously, then you're going to learn. And that's also why these alchemy things are going back and forth, because in each layer, the leads have to get it. You have to build that up in your field to be able. Now, you might have started down here dealing with magic, and you had to get really good at shielding yourself. You had to get really good at right? Well, all shields down now. You can't shield. There's no more shield protection. There is none. That would be called a dome. What what's happening is your body and your energetic and your etheric body with all the other beings that are in here, if you're a shadow walker, and if you've been dealing with a lot of dense magic, or if you're ancient as fuck like me and you're in the hole, then your body is made to, like a drill bit, go through it. But when you're in a human body down here, you have to alchemize through it in layers, and you learn tricks because the ancestors teach you as you clear each layer. Well, let's just say it this way. I entered a fucking whole new crazy layer last night. And what happened was that 3 degrees of 0 to 3 Aries is basically like your bone DNA sequence inside your spine, okay, of the entire human race that's been since a mammal, since an aquatic ape, because humans started out an aquatic ape, not a lion. And there really were 45 different types of humans down here when we all got started. Thing is, they replayed the whole freaking creation thing, so then we ended up with 45 different fucking species down here. Not even 45, like, you know, this is back to the creation story and all the different myths about the horse people and the goat. I mean, because I went toe-to-toe with a man with a fucking goat leg. Like, literally. Last month in New Orleans. I'll never forget that shit. But we were walking a seam because I was mirroring him from the mirror dimension. And we're the new race. Not them. They've just been trying to hold down an old record. So that full moon hitting at 6 degrees, what happened was that 0 to 3 degrees that our collective rewrote throughout the whole bread box. Before this last 6 years happened, that 0 to 3 degrees of Aries was like a skip on a record. So it's like when the projector came down to land, what would happen at 0 degrees Aries, it'd just jump to 6. And then they had their weird Andromeda space program, their little spells, whoever they had bound in their little whatever, over all these da-da-da-da-da-da, that would let it skip. And then what they had the consciousness and knowing to do by ancestral and their little organizations and them looking through our eyes and looking glass and remote viewing and blah, 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 all of it, was the ability to jump themselves into those different settings to take our place, to reset the human race and the storyline according to whatever their little secret egg plan was. But this time, no go. So because we had redone 0 to 3 degrees Aries, and then the past 2 years, we've been cleaning it through all of the land and space and all the karma, to the extent that we captured whatever demon entity was their pillar, and they went down. Now, there's 3, and they're still alive right now. But what's happening is that as this keeps winding up, at each section, when they come in order to take the collective and put it in the box, it flips. And they end up in the box and you're on the other side. And it'll just happen. It'll just happen. In your world, in your physical, it's a trip. You'll have some type of experience. You might have a dream. You might have to go on a trip really quick. You might, who knows? Because you'll be maneuvering in order to jump the whole time, feeling the pressure that something is setting, or you're extra calm, or you're not moving at all. Because the most powerful ones of us right now are not moving at all. And we're really calm. because the most ancient ones of us that are at the very pinnacle of this dark energy, that's what keeps it off of us, is us being pure. Because we can sit there and look at it. You can wrap it around us all day long if you want, but it won't penetrate our field. It can't. It's impossible. We just watch it maneuver and go, oh, well, let's pop a bubble there. Let's poke a hole there. Let's see if that works. Did it fall? Nope. All right. Hold on a second. Because at the same time, the planets are working with us to flip it. So the main thing of all of this, and I'm going to hang up, but the main thing of all, and I've got this thing over here that says leaving CERN at 8:47. And that's probably today. Mercury just went direct today. So it hasn't, because that was also what was happening. Because Mercury had lined up. Mercury was stopped. Libra and Aries, they were trying to get to the Libra body template by shooting it through Aries to Libra in order to solidify and seal their DNA template on the human race. And when they did what we did was basically jump. The moon and the sun switched places twice last night. The moon and the sun switched places, boop, boop, twice last night. But more like this. We shot this direction because it's all in the alignments of the galaxies and these galaxies and these M suns that were actually controlling through Orion. Because how it worked was you had M1, M2, and M3. Well, M2 is your solar system. That's where I was. I was L4 in ballet position waiting. Now, M1, M2, and M3 used to project through Orion into your little grid. This is why all you spiritual people that have given us all out fucking hell and any spell that you've been doing, I don't care who the fuck you are, you're now in your own shit. Because you thought that we were evil. You thought that our etheric bodies were this. You believed whatever your eyes told you. You believed whatever everybody else told you, even though you knew better. Because what you were seeing was us coming through your little vector that was holding it off you to project you to be a high frequency person. Because I don't care where, because the whole human race was in goddamn hell and close to end of days, about to be sucked into a black hole. So what was happening was they had domed this consciousness, and look, they utilized a lot of you in the shadow by getting you quick to judgment about an emotion. Could have had a dream. You could have saw what you thought was a demon in your dream, but it didn't do anything to you. All you saw it do was pass through. But then you got the order to go bind it. That's because you were in a little vector that they's controlling. Is one little thing right here. Everybody else over here is floating around, but this is the only place that bodies were being projected. You thought that you were perfect and that and you had no idea of what really the human ascension was going on right now, and that all of us ancients were bound down there. And if you're bound down there and your etheric body has been stripped off of you, you kind of don't look fucking human. How are you gonna do that? They've been stripping they sent my etheric body. They started stripping January 2019. Now, they had got me, everything leading up to that, up to 2018, was binding me down to start stripping those layers off my projection. The same sequence of how they were stripping it is now how it's coming back in, because basically the last 6 years now has never happened. It's kind of like we were from 6 years in the past, but we were producing 6 years in the future, and then it got tighter and tighter and tighter. And this is the vector Pisces, and this is that bing 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 bing, right? So it's almost as if it was being erased as it was being done, but then that's going to be a little bit off count. This is going to feel like it's a day ahead. This is going to feel like it's yesterday, if that makes any sense. And then whenever you come through the middle of it, whenever it all converges, then it pops, and then the whole thing just overrides a dominant energy, which is always going to be ours. It's always going to be ours until this is complete in 2032. And what the spiritual community and what it was like, all the woke people were so irritated with me about was like, they thought that they could have this complete freedom at this time. And they also knew that in the future that you can go be whatever you want. You can create whatever you want with your little vibe tribe and blah, 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 which is all coming, okay? But you got to line up the tree. You got to line up the creator templates again to flush through all the beings so that we're all connected in one sequence. So then you can go do that. But if the human race is not working together in order to get one template together, while the faction is working together to get one template together in order to take it over, you see what I'm saying? And this was the mind fuck that was happening down here the past 6 years. Now, it's not either good, bad, or indifferent. You get it when you're supposed to get it. But now you either get it, you're on board with the creator template, you fucking understand what it is, because otherwise you're going to float into space. What we did was flip through the sun. So we went, because on the full moon, it shot through the moon. It hit Libra. Libra sent out a direct and broke, because we already built the other template. So basically when their template blew, it shot us back, but at an angle out in space, because we blew through Libra and basically went, if you want to say, the sun system of Arcturus. The sun system of Arcturus, which is where Mars is right now. And see, this is what they's trying to do. They's trying to control it from way the fuck out there. Well, since that's what happened, but since we are who we are, and we've been putting back together this whole system, right? And working in polarity with them the whole time. When we shot through, we shot at an angle this way, boom, then it ricocheted, and then, so if they were trying to lock us in the moon to become the moon, they're locked in our old moon right now. And we shot through the M2 solar system sun, and we hit the angle at M4, and then we went straight to M8. And so M8 is going to be, you know, if this is M1, M2, M3, then it's going to keep going to M8, but then realize that that keeps going all the way down because they've been doing it for so long, okay? But M8 is connected to M35, and M35 is in the core of the planet. So the core of the planet and all of us in the internal creator system, that this was all set up as a fail-safe, and this is the Leah fail, Gaia, the G. This is when I was screaming, the G, I'm the G. I mean, when I'm driving my car and I was coming out of New Orleans with Mim, I mean, I was screaming, get out of my way, get out of my way, because I knew that that lightning bolt that hit in Dallas, if you go to my TikTok, and it happened the same day a month after we left New Orleans, that lightning bolt hit. Well, that was the connection that was coming to connect with me down here, to connect that sequence out here. And so Rumpy Rump and his little entourage getting held and taken to jail, I needed that entire setup around me as I was driving in the damn sequence, so that Texas didn't get hit like Hawaii and we all get fried. Because the fact that they didn't let me go to Hawaii and connect what I'd already planted there is why that ray fried everybody. If they would have let me go when I was supposed to go, according to divine plan, that wouldn't happen. But that's why they did it. So that ray, that lightning bolt, was sent by Libra in the hires back to, because it went Aries, Libra, boom, way out to Mars in like Arcturus, coming out of Spica. This is where my name is Sarah Damar is. This is Yahshua's sister, Yahshua's daughter, whatever freaking timeline you want to call it, but it's where Yahshua's sister, the mirror of it, was always the one in the pit, the Mary Magdalene, the brain, the one in the pit, connected to Yahshua, and all the lines that were connected to Yahshua. We had to redo all of those and reclaim them all, so that we could connect in with the human race in order to do this. This is, for us, it was never about getting a crown, except at the end, because they made it that way. For us, and for the past 6 years, it was about proving who we were so that we could get the collective keys and the ancestor knowledge mantles to be able to finish this son of a bitch, because we had never been the ones having to make the straw man. We was just always the straw man. So what's happening now is that a lot of us, especially who have this ancient information, man, who's going poop? Y'all are about to see our power. I know a lot of you already have, and I know that since the beginning, when all this happened, everybody's been asking, who the fuck are you? Well, I need y'all to understand that you're me too. And if you're watching this, and if you can consume this information, even if you're the stupid fucks that are over here spying or thinking that you're doing some shit, you're about to learn. And I'll just remind everybody that it took 72 million years, and these are stretching apart, and that lower timeline is gonna form. And anybody that was trying to crucify us again and put us in a little lockbox is now in your little fucking box. And you're our source of energy. Whether or not you're walking, you're dead, you're a worm, you're stuck on Saturn. Now, the other thing is, no more hexagon on Saturn. No more angles on Saturn. Because you're still tethered to us. You're our fucking system. At the bottom of the worm. You're doing the toll. You're doing the trudging. You're doing the work. You're working the job, not us. Jobs was supposed to be gone a long time ago. And you got 9 months to figure it out. Because you're still tethered to us. Now, if you're not human, and if you aren't just here to learn your lesson, because we're karma. So a lot of y'all come and throw magic at us, because what it does is throw you in your little fucking vector, because you got to figure out how to get the rest of them out that the leader sent you to do. And that's your karma. That's what happened to me. That's how I learned all this. FYI. This is where you can walk in our footsteps, or you cannot. If you did not claim your ancestry lines, you don't have a get out of jail free card. If you didn't walk the deaths of your ancestors and walk the deaths of your twin, which is you, in another dimension, you die. You have no more life. If you stole others' names, you stole the storylines, you killed people over and over and over throughout the last million-year history, all because your line always got away with it, and you always ended up the star, and then you always sold us out. It's gonna happen to you. We can't do anything to you that you didn't do to us. All we do is switch when you pull the trigger. or when your boss man pulls the trigger, or the one who fucking pays you pulled the trigger, or all of you that are running this mafia shit that you have no ma on anymore. You have no fiat on it anymore. Your leaders don't have any money to pay you anymore. But now you're the one who's done all of the bad deeds for some secret payout that you thought that you were going to get, or you thought that my line's done 300 years of murdering down here and we was in prison every time. It's my turn. You were all warned. And this is a learning planet. You will go to wherever it is in this fucking reality that your energy frequency is attached to. Period. Fucking dot. And you have 9 months to get out. If you miss that 9 months, sorry about your luck. November, December, January, February, March, April. You really got 6. Because what's going to happen is we're going to have this ring of fire eclipse. And you're all entering into it. And what's happening right now is that all of us ancients are having, and these time sequences are lining up. Because basically what happened yesterday is what's really happening today because of what we lined up last week. And that's how it's going boom, 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 boom. This is why there is no time. We're all going through the ring of fire right now. Every single one of us is gonna jump, or you're completely bound to the lower timeline. It's going to split away. You're going to lose consciousness. You have no quantum codes. You can't use your banana phone. You can't ASAP it out of here. You have no phonetic charge, and you're about to learn what all of us paid for and what it cost us for you to just come and take it at the end of days. If you've been using Japanese code and tech code and you've been abusing tech codes, well, then you are now our Wi-Fi system, right? T-Mobile Dodie? Fayed? If you have been abusing, like the Illuminati and the entertainment industry, and you've been just calling yourself ASAP or calling yourself this or that, and then you've just been miraculously becoming the Stein, and then you always had all these controls because you were just doing phonetic codes, well, let me remind all of you at the very end of this video, before my original ancients were here, there was no sound. We were so deep in space. All of us have never had a shield on us because y'all always took them and made your own little amazing dream coat. So all of us that started this realm 72 million years ago, but really a million years ago, we were vacuum sealed, screaming, and it made sound. Do you know how long it took to make an A? Ah. Sit there and do that. Ah. That's what it's like to clear space. And guess what? B didn't come next. No, no, no. You'd have to actually have lips for that. Buh, buh, buh. No, no, no. You got then you got because now you're freezing because you just got shot through space. Now you're in another area. So everybody that's abusing phonetic charges and just thought you could come in and phonetically write your own fucking Illuminati timeline, you're fucked. We all warned you. We warned you until the bitter end. We fucking told you. Every single one of us told you as you were binding us down for the past 6 fucking years who we were and what was going on. None of it was a secret. All of that got up to the highest damn timelines. Those are the ones that are going to get locked in your shit. And guess what? You need to, because you need to learn how to alchemize your shit. It's the new physics. Everybody's pulling out of hell. Everybody has to learn how to pull out of their low physics. You aren't just going to have a twin that you can throw your shadow shit to, or Government, you can't just make badass demon cleaners out of angels anymore and then call us the devil. You got to clean your own fucking shit. And your entire lineage that's in your little shrimp vein is dead, that's attached to it, and it's dying. And as it dies, then you're getting strawed up. That's what's happening today. And I will not be blamed anymore for being the one who gets all the codes to lock these motherfuckers down. And you will not call me a witch. You will not call me a demon. You will not fucking exorcise any of us because you made us. You have no power without the collective human. You have no reason for being here if you're not human. And we will take back our land and re-terraform it because it's been happening this whole time. It's what you was coming for in Texas. Right? So that's what's happening right now. I know I went all over the place. I need to cut this off. I'm at 9004, 9004, 3001, 400. October, this is all leading up. I'll end with this. Just coast right now. It's going to shock the shit out of us. The show started. We're on day 3 of a 10-day cycle that's lining up for Venus to come out of shadow. Venus proved Judah. Venus proved Queen of Regulus, but not just in Leo, in Virgo. So what's happening until October 7th, which is Putin's birthday, and this whole Russian Anastasian oil and gas bullshit is all ending. And those sources are ending. Every G is out of every single one of these cores of these planets because nobody has approached us yet. And until they come pay us and work us into our contract to use our energy, they get nothing. So how God has set this up and the divine has set this up and how the collective set this up is that everything is going to stop. Everything until the people that did it to us acknowledge it and tell the fucking truth and balance it in every goddamn way. And it starts with the chosen ones that you came and took it from. And I'm already to the point where you can't just come to me anymore and it be done. In fact, I'm one of the last ones that's going to be named. Because at this point, we've had to take over every goddamn thing down here and all the way out to the M35 sun and the entire universe in order to line it back up, get it back into the inheritance in the lines, get back the people in charge of the electric grids, the government, whatever the fuck we're going to call it. But that ain't me anymore. I'm not this secret pill anymore. There's about 500 that need to be appointed within every single one of those organizations before I'm officially fucking named. Now that's going to happen in the next 3 months. And as our people, the ones, the true inheritances, the true lines that have the knowledge and have the understanding of even the new physics connected in to the electric companies, the telecom companies, Ryan Reynolds, fucking hand in your goddamn keys, bitch. How dare you come and try to take over the Queen's Pyramid in Arizona and set up a mint on a lively shit like that. There's 3 that are going to be completely bound, and there's 3 that are going to definitely hit the newsstand, and those are the 3 that I watched burn in hell when they blew me out of the Matrix 2017, and I still don't know exactly who they are. Anybody new coming into your life, I'd kind of wait it off until, because October 7th, Venus is going to line up from Leo. Venus coming out of retro. And then October 14th on that ring of fire, Venus is lined up on Regulus on my Venus, and that's the collective Venus. And these rays that we were sending back and forth between Libra and Aries are going to be being sent from Pisces to Leo. Well, Leo to Pisces and back down, breaking that. And then on the Ring of Fire, the whole fucking thing's going to open up all the way out to... It's going to bring down the eye. Fomalhaut's the eye. So any type of illusion, any type of that, it's all crumbling, because as the people die in the vine, whatever bubble they's holding up, that's when you get the massive download, or that's also when you feel a lot of dense energy hit you. Don't just shield it. If you do, you're going to end up like Atlantis. You can't, and if you're in transcendent shit, you best break out of your diamond right now. Because that was the problem. They tried to, you just diamond yourself up, but then you didn't learn how to clear any of the energy. And that's why you were used as basically like a glass reflector out there. And you no longer have that. If you don't develop your diamond body in the collective, through the collective and through the creator template, then you have no diamond, and trust. It's a mission that none of you would be able to fucking conquer. Unless you've been down here 72 million years. We're giving you the diamond template through the creator template. Once you enter the creator template, then basically the whole process is getting your own diamond body.